Prince Harry's Father's Day photo has gone and outshone William's Father's Day photo, even though William is the future king and Harry is the spare. Now, people were commenting on William's Father's Day photo and they were saying that it wasn't a very good photo of Charlotte. One of her eyes was a bit funny. And someone said a photo with only one of the children was a mistake. It should have been all three. And people were saying how boring William looked and how boring he is. And they were saying how exciting Harry is and how he looks when he's with his children. And when you compare the two brothers, you know which one's the real deal, and that's Harry. But also people were saying that William wasn't showing much affection for Charlotte, whereas Harry was really embracing his children like he had won the lottery. Now that's real affection. And people noticed that William's little finger on the side of Charlotte's arm, it was a bit slack. It wasn't relaxed. It was a bit tense, and he wasn't holding Charlotte with affection, and Charlotte's shoulders were a bit hunched over like that, and that means you feel awkward and nervous being next to someone, i.e. William. Her father was next to her. But this photo has revealed a hell of a lot about how Charlotte really felt about being in the presence with her father. She doesn't like him, and it does make you wonder if she's witnessed William hitting Catherine, assaulting her, punching her, shouting at her, pointing his finger into her face like, shut up, and Charlotte was hindering and flinching in this photo, and the photo did look like AI. It was really blurry, and William and Charlotte's faces had been heavily photoshopped as all their skin looked really cloudy and fuzzy. People said that the background wasn't original. They added William and Charlotte into that background image. So they literally just put William and Charlotte's photo into that background. That photo was taken somewhere else and they've just planted it in there, because if you actually find the closer up image of this one, his uniform doesn't look real. It looks really AI-y. And people were saying that the photo was too formal and it should have been a bit more casual, because one minute we've got the Wellses family lying barefoot down in the grass, and then the next minute we get one where he's all dressed up in his uniform. I mean, it's not consistent. Either they're trying to be like Harry and Meghan, really casual, and then they go back to all this formal military stuff. And you could tell that William's smile was forced and it was really manufactured. He looked like he was having to do it through gritted teeth, like he didn't actually want to smile for the photo. But all three children should have been with their father in that photo, not just one. That's really odd. It's really strange. But the Wellses family is looking even more and more dysfunctional these days. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if this photo of William and Charlotte was taken after William stormed off in one of his usual rages after Trooping the Colour. And obviously Kate didn't want to be in it because she wasn't in the one last year, but obviously she was still doubtlessly dealing with her bruised ego after being booed by the anti-monarchy protesters at Trooping the Colour. But I just find it weird how Lilibet and Archie can be seen in Harry's Father's Day photo, yet with William we just get Charlotte. Now, as someone said, when the parents are separated, they have different access days. So perhaps William just had Charlotte, and obviously Kate might have had Louis and George on her access days. So she had the boys and William had Charlotte. But who knows? Who knows? And obviously someone else said Louis and George always look a bit miserable and deflated. George always looks really depressed and stressed. And someone said, I don't think he'd have made the photo very exciting. Or
can we talk about how absolutely weird this whole thing is for a second? Meghan posts a Father's Day tribute to Harry. That's it. A wife celebrating the father of her kids. Pretty normal stuff, right? Wrong, because somehow certain UK tabloids looked at a family post and immediately said, "Quick, somebody find Prince William." I'm serious, a post about Harry hugging Archie and Lily somehow turned into a group project featuring people who weren't even in the picture. That's like your neighbor posting photos from their barbecue in the local newspaper running the headline, "Meanwhile, Steve across the street also owns a grill." What are we doing here? And here's the funny part. These outlets had already covered William's birthday. They'd already covered Father's Day. The job was done, the articles were written, the boxes were checked. But apparently that wasn't enough. Somebody somewhere must have panicked and said, guys, Harry and Meghan are trending again. We need an emergency William attachment immediately." It's giving desperation. It's giving last-minute homework copied 5 minutes before class starts. Because if two completely separate stories can't exist without being stapled together, people start asking questions. Regular folks notice stuff like that. You don't need a media degree to see it. If your favorite football team wins a match, nobody suddenly interrupts the celebration to remind you that another team also owns a stadium. So why does every Harry and Meghan story seem to come with bonus royal content attached to it? At some point, it starts looking less like reporting and more like matchmaking. Harry and Meghan post family photos. Tabloids, interesting, but have we considered making this about someone else? And don't even get me started on the wild gymnastics surrounding that Father's Day message. One minute it's a wife celebrating her husband, the next minute some headline writer is acting like Meghan secretly sent coded messages to King Charles through Instagram. Come on, that's Olympic level stretching. By that logic, if I post a birthday cake online, apparently I'm opening peace negotiations with my uncle from 2017. It makes no sense. This is why regular people roll their eyes at this stuff. Most parents looking at those photos saw exactly what was there. A dad, his kids, a family moment, simple, normal. End of story. But somehow, certain corners of the media looked at the same thing and built an entire conspiracy board with red string connecting photos, birthdays, Father's Day, the King, the moon landing, and probably the weather forecast. It's exhausting and honestly kind of funny, because the harder they try to force these connections, the more obvious it becomes. People aren't blind. They can see when a story is standing on its own, and they can definitely see when somebody keeps dragging extra characters into the scene because they're worried nobody will pay attention otherwise. At the end of the day, a Father's Day tribute should not require a detective squad, 3 royal commentators, 12 opinion columns, and a whiteboard covered in arrows. Sometimes a family photo is just a family photo, but apparently that's not dramatic enough for certain tabloids. And that's the real comedy here. The people creating the drama seem to be working harder than the people they're writing about. Let's be completely honest. The Sussex photo absolutely carried the day. It wasn't even a contest. Harry's out here giving his kids a massive, genuine hug, and you can just feel the real warmth radiating off the screen. It looks like actual everyday life. Meanwhile, look at William's side of the split screen. Boring, staged, it's giving hostage video vibes. He pulls up with only one kid and poor Charlotte looks incredibly nervous while William is rocking a smile that looks entirely forced by a PR team holding a stopwatch behind the camera. It is so painfully obvious they only did it for the cameras to hit a quota. Regular people can spot the difference from a mile away. We know what a real dad looks like when he's just happy to be with his kids, and we know what a corporate photo op looks like when the boss tells you to look happy for the quarterly newsletter. Harry is wrapped up with Archie and Lilibet completely in the moment, completely unbothered by the royal script. William looks like he's trying to sell you insurance. The media tried to force this forced comparison, but it completely backfired because humans connect with actual emotion, not stiff protocols. The Sussexes won this round effortlessly just by being normal, loving parents, while the palace looks like it's still trying to figure out how genuine affection works. It's hilarious, it's awkward, and the tabloids need to stop forcing these staged moments because the public sees right through the act. You ever notice how some people can't just let two things exist at the same time? That's exactly what this whole situation feels like. The royal family posts birthday wishes for Prince William. Cool, it's his birthday. Father's Day too, makes sense. Family photo, smiles, job done. Then Harry and Meghan post a Father's Day picture of Harry with Archie and Lily. Also normal. Simple, right? Apparently not, because the second Harry and Meghan dropped their post, parts of the UK media started acting like they discovered a royal emergency. Suddenly, the two stories had to be glued together. Had to. Couldn't possibly let them breathe on their own. It's like seeing two completely different movies playing in different theaters and deciding they're part of the same cinematic universe. Nobody asked for that. Regular people look at this stuff and laugh. Imagine posting a Father's Day photo with your kids. Then the local newspaper runs a headline saying, "Meanwhile, Steve across town also celebrated Father's Day." Okay, and what am I supposed to do with that information? The whole thing starts feeling forced, like when your friend keeps trying to introduce two people who clearly aren't interested in meeting each other. Look, they're both standing. Look, they both have children. Look, they both took pictures. Relax, detective. Not everything is a clue. What cracks me up is the panic that seems to kick in whenever Harry and Meghan post anything. A family photo appears, and suddenly newsroom keyboards are smoking. Editors are sprinting around like somebody hit the fire alarm. Quick, find a way to connect this to somebody else. Meanwhile, the rest of us are sitting there wondering why. Because here's the thing. If William's birthday post is interesting enough, it should stand on its own. If Harry's Father's Day post is interesting enough, it should stand on its own too. This isn't rocket science, but somehow certain outlets keep serving everything as a combo meal. You order one story, they bring 3 side dishes and a conspiracy theory. And let's be honest for a second. Most parents looking at Harry's photo weren't thinking about royal rivalries. They weren't thinking about palace politics. They weren't thinking about media narratives. They were thinking, oh, that's a dad hugging his kids. That's it. That's the entire thought process. Normal people don't spend their Sunday drawing red lines between family photos like they're investigating an international mystery. But some headlines sure do. And that's where it gets funny, because the harder people try to mash these stories together, the more obvious it becomes. The audience notices. People can tell when a story has legs. They can also tell when somebody keeps dragging extra characters into the scene because they're worried nobody will pay attention otherwise.
At this point, the Sussexes are out here catching dubs on a daily basis, while the Waleses are just consistently flopping. It's wild to watch. That photo of Harry and his kids didn't just win the day, it screamed absolute freedom. It was pure authenticity, zero corporate script, and completely unorchestrated. Regular people on the street can instantly spot the difference between real life and a royal mandate. When you look at Harry, Archie, and Lilibet, you see a family that's actually thriving. They're living out in California, doing their thing, completely free from that suffocating palace matrix. There are no PR handlers in the bushes telling them how to hold a hug. It's just real, raw love, and that's why it resonates so hard with normal folks sitting at home. Then you look over at the palace side of the screen and it's just a total flop fest. It looks like a mandatory team building exercise where everyone is praying for the clock to hit 5. The stiffness is loud. They are trying so hard to project this perfect, untouchable image, but it just comes off as cold and out of touch. The internet sees right through it. You can't fake vibes, and right now Harry and Meghan are radiating peace and happiness, while the UK media machine is absolutely sweating trying to make the alternative look appealing. The Sussexes already won the long game the second they walked away, and these photos are just the daily proof that freedom looks incredibly good on them. And that is the tea for today, folks. The tabloids can keep crying into their crumpets, but the receipts don't lie. Thanks for watching. I am your host, Miles, and I am officially logging off before the Daily Mail tries to write a 12-page article about my outfit choices. If you loved the vibes, smash that subscribe button, hit the like, and drop a comment below letting me know if you think the Palace PR team needs to take some acting classes. Catch you guys in the next video. Stay unbothered, secure your bag, and peace out.